Alrighty guys, what is up? Welcome back to Path of Exile with Lone Debater 7. And today we're going to be fighting the Maven. The Maven is a new endgame boss that got added in last league, during the Ritual League. So we've got a Maven invitation. This is how you summon it. It's for the Glennick Carns area. So if I drop this bad mamma in our map and activate, it will open up a map to the Maven. We'll wait to do that and I want to talk about the build first before we do anything else. But that's basically how you get in. It's a map of its own, it's self-contained, and basically it's a new boss that you can fight. The way that you actually get this token is if you look at your atlas, eventually when you reach a high enough tier of maps, I think you just gotta do T10 or higher, is what it seemed to be like for me, or maybe you just need to have 2 watchstones socketed in a region. I don't actually know. But I did a map in the Glennick Carns region over here with 2 watchstones socketed. The Maven appeared and buffed the boss in the first one that I ran. And then basically it gave me a little side mission, do 3 maps, and have the Maven watch the boss fight basically in order to get that token or access the Maven. So I ran 2 more maps with the Maven watching, and basically what the Maven watching does is it buffs the boss. So when you do I started out with Malformation. This is what I ran when I got the Maven initially. Like, the Maven buffed this boss without me needing to do anything. Then I got this modifier up here. You click that in and the Maven will watch any boss battle that you do for the given map. So I did 2 more maps. I did an Infested Valley and a Sunken City map, because they're in the same region. With that Maven watch modifier clicked, it buffs the bosses for both of those. Since I beat both bosses, it counts towards this counter to get. We needed to clear 3 total maps with the Maven watching the boss fight in order to unlock the Maven fight. So that's how I got the token. It is separate from defeating the Crusaders and stuff. Region occupied by Baron, completing 2 more maps of this region. So if I do 2 more maps in Glennick Carns, I can fight Baron. If I do 2 more maps in Tyrann's End, I can do Veritania, assuming I have at least 1 watchstone socketed in the region when I'm running the maps. So that's pretty easy. I can do that, no problem. I want to fight the Maven first, though, because it's a separate thing, and I have the Keystone now. You can't actually put this in your stash tab. The only places it can go is in your inventory or in the map device, so it's kind of like the heist contracts, the ones that you can't put inside of the heist tab. So anyway, just bear that in mind. I just want to talk about the build mechanics a little bit, just in case it's unclear based off of the title of what this build actually is. So it's an Inquisitor build, so you start as a Templar and you take the Inquisitor Ascendancy. We've got 3 Ascendancy perks done, so we've done the first 3 labs. We got Sanctuary, Pious Path, and Augury of Penance. That just buffs us. So we have Consecrated Ground, which gives us regen and buffs. And then we also have increased elemental damage, because this character, or this build, is primarily focused on dealing fire damage and ignite damage, and then utilizing elemental and ignite proliferation to spread that to packs of enemies. So the clear on this is pretty good. The single target damage is so-so. Like, it could be beefed a little bit more. If I could get my hands on a couple more unique items, this build would do a lot better on bosses, but that's fine. So we've got totems. These are just Holy Flame totems. I'm using those right now because then I can fit a multiple totems and the Holy Flame, and not I can add an extra support gem basically, because I don't need to have a spell plus a spell totem plus multiple, which is 3, versus just the totem and multiple, which is 2. So I find that's a little bit better optimized. Now, granted, once I have a max level GMP, which I believe I'm leveling. No, maybe I'm not. Okay, that's fine. I thought I grabbed one. I should be leveling it if it is in my thing. I've got a lesser multiple. I didn't actually keep the greater. Okay, that's fine. Not a big deal. But I could switch over to a fireball totem with greater multiple projectiles to do the same thing. Basically what this does, just lays down some damage. I can have a maximum of 3, but it summons 2 in each time. It also pulls aggro of any monsters that are nearby, so that's good. It creates Consecrated Ground, which gives me regen and damages and debuffs monsters at the same time. So the totems are pretty good. As far as their damage in Path of Exile is showing up as about 10,000, just over 10k DPS. on those totems, and we get 2 totems at once, or with each cast, we can have a maximum of 3. So at most we could deal about 30k damage a second with our totem skills alone. In addition to that, we've got our main cast, which is Purifying Flame. It's got Spell Echo support on it, creates Consecrated Ground on cast, which is pretty amazing for us, because then basically as we cast, we're creating life regen for us and harming the monsters beyond. But this is same kind of idea, Elemental Prolif, Ignite Prolif. This one, I believe, yeah, just over almost 43k DPS with our main hand cast. Both our main hand and the totems have over 100% chance to ignite, which is important for this build, because our ignite basically, once it catches on one, elemental proliferation and ignite proliferation makes that spread to all enemies nearby. So basically, you kill one enemy, it spreads out the ignite to all the other ones, so you just deal massive damage and clear maps really easily. It's really fun to play. In addition to that, we've got our Firestorm, which is big meteor, AoE damage, but it's damage over time, meaning like the spell casts over a time. So as you can see, get the big meteor, then you get a bunch of small meteors after. All of those meteors count as an individual hit, and this procs all of our, it procs elemental weakness and flammability. So 2 curses, it makes our damage go through the roof pretty much. It also does a little bit of damage. It's like 1300, so not a whole lot, but it does damage the enemies a little bit. Basically what I end up doing is my combo is I'll throw down my totems, drop an R while they're damaging, because the totems will pull the aggro. That's the important thing with this. So like you dash in like that, drop a totem with an R at the same time, do that, and then you like dash away and then shoot your main hand into the pack of enemies, and it does pretty good. I mean, this build has decent defenses. We're res capped for one thing, except for Chaos, but I'm not too worried about Chaos res, in all honesty. We have Ignite, Chill, Freeze, and Shock of 100% avoidance on all of those. Move speed's 26%, which isn't bad. Our evasion isn't super great, but we do have a Stibonite Flask, which does remove, it gives us immunity to Freeze and Chill and removes Freeze and Chill, and gives us evasion, 100% evasion. We've got our Quicksilver, which gives us attack damage as life, leeched life, right? We've got a Chemist Sulfur Flask of Steadiness. So this is important because it creates Consecrated Ground, so it synergizes really well with our build, all things considered. So like that's why I have that one primarily. It also gives us some block and stun recovery during the flask and stuff, and it scales our damage. So this is our damage flask. I pop the sulfur flask and the stib flask before going into a boss fight. I've got a saturated eternal mana flask of iron skin, so increased amount recover, 33 reduce rate, but we get increased armor is the main thing. So we're only running with 265 mana, so the mana amount doesn't necessarily matter to us. An instant flask would be better. I just haven't rolled one, and I haven't spent the currency to craft out flasks yet, because it doesn't necessarily matter. I rarely use the mana flask. It's only if there's consecrated ground in the on the map that's draining my mana that I need to use it, because our mana regen's amazing. Next, we've got Saturated Eternal Life Flask of Acceleration. So same thing, larger size, slower recovery rate, but we get increased attack speed, which isn't bad for us. Be better if it was cast speed as opposed to attack speed, or something that buffed the totems, because I think you can get that too. And instant would be preferable, but I rarely use that flask. Basically, I'm always using my Quicksilver flask to get through the map quickly, and then I'll use these 2 flasks on the end if I'm fighting bosses. The other 2 are kind of like emergency things. So like if I take a big hit and get chunked, I'll pop my life flask and it does the job to fill me back up. But that's about it, and that doesn't happen very often. As far as gear is concerned, this is what we're rocking. So I've got a Rift Tether leather belt, so 2 maximum life modifiers, regen life, cold res, cold and lightning res that I crafted onto it, and increased elemental damage with attack skills. So this is pretty good for our build because it scales elemental damage and gives us our res cap. On our boots, we are running with Torch Oak Step, Antique Greaves. It gives us increased armor, and then it buffs our totems, so increased totem life, placement speed, movement speed. Well, we get movement speed on our character from the boots, but totems also reflect their maximum life as fire damage to nearby enemies when hit, which is really big for us because when our totem is dealing fire damage, right? And we're scaled out with passives and everything to increase our fire damage. So as enemies attack these totems and take it down because they're aggroed on them, they're taking fire damage at the same time, which is pretty amazing because of our boots. So that's our boots. On our gloves, I haven't bought a unique set yet. I'm looking at a couple of different options. I haven't tied it down quite yet, but I need it. I don't need it to have dex on it. Like if I put one passive into a dexterity node, I can get rid of the dex requirement for myself. But anyway, at this point I want dex on them. But this is what they got. These are just generic energy shield, life, and resistance gloves. The main thing on this one is we get plus 11 life on a kill, which is actually pretty huge for our regen rate. So that's what we got there. Our rings are just two topaz fire lightning double res crafted rings. One has physical damage to attacks and fire damage. It also has cold damage, but that doesn't necessarily matter. I'd rather recraft this to have higher fire damage or increased spell damage. But anyway, that's fine. The other one is max life, and then it has all the other and just a shit ton of resistances on this. At some point, I'm probably going to upgrade at least one of these, if not both of these, to prismatic rings. Or maybe I'll upgrade one of them to a prismatic ring, and if I can stack enough resistance on it, so like, if I can replace this ring with a prismatic ring and get similar resistance modifiers on that prismatic ring, I might be able to remove this for a unique ring and buff my character even further, but I'm not 100% sure if I can do that yet. I have to look and kind of see what's out there and what I can craft. Anyway, so that's what we're rocking right now, 2 basic rings. We've got the Jinx Juju Citrine Amulet. It is a unique. It basically gives us some, to all attributes, gives us a little bit of Chaos Res, increased effect of curses, increased effect of non-curse auras, and 10% of damage from hits is taken from Spectre's lives before yours. I don't know if I actually have Spectres. If totems count as Spectres, that's really good for us. If not, it doesn't matter. All the buffed curses and auras that come from this amulet are really important, or actually really helpful for this build, because we utilize curses and auras to help sustain damage and, you know, like regen and stuff like that. For our helm, we've got Daedra's Scorn. Gives us a +2 level of socketed curse gems, some intelligence, extra energy shield, increased elemental damage, 18% damage with hits and ailments per curse on enemy. Curse skills have a 47% increased skill effect duration. So this is our curses are put inside of this helmet because of the curse bonuses from like the socketed gems primarily, and then curse skills have increased skill effect duration, I think is universal, but the socketed curse gems is important on this one. So we're using that. It really does buff our curses quite a bit. The increased elemental damage is just like icing on the cake, more or less, because we've got, we're dealing elemental damage. The increased damage with hits and ailments is also good because it scales both our fire damage and our ignite damage. So Daedra's Scorn, pretty good unique for our helmet. It's kind of the best one I was able to find. I have gone through the list of unique items to kind of pick these out. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you think there's a better item, drop it down below and I'll take a look and see if it works a little bit better. There is a path of building in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching it on Twitch, go over to my YouTube channel and check it out there, because that's where the paste bin's at. Anyway, so that's our helmet. On our weapon, Dying Breath, Iron Staff. So this is all totem, hex, aura skill stuff. This is where our totem skills are socketed. Then we've got Cloak of Flame for our chest, which is fire res, ignite duration. So fire, ignite damage is what this buffs. So pretty good. That's our build. That's our gear. As far as sockets go, in our weapon, we've got Holy Flame Totem, Ele Prolif, Combustion, multiple totems, Controlled Destruction, Ignite Prolif. In our helmet, we've got Elemental Weakness, Hex Touch, Support, Firestorm, Flammability. In our chest, we've got Purifying Flame, Elemental Proliferation, Combustion, Controlled Destruction, Spell Echo, Efficacy. And then in our gloves, we've got our Flame Wall, Arcane Surge, Flame Dash. In our boots, we've got Herald of Ash, Vitality, Clarity, and Summon Skitterbots. Now, I'm not actually running with Clarity up, just because if I put Clarity on, I only have 14 mana, so I can't actually cast any of my skills. If my mana increases due to changing out these gloves for a better unique with increased mana cost, or by getting a ring with increased mana, or a belt with increased mana, or something that can increase mana and decrease our reservation, then we can take a look at doing that. But okay, so that's kind of the build. As far as passives go, I mean, this is what I've got filled in so far. Right now, I am working to get Enigmatic Reach, which will... So these all increase our AoE, which is really useful for this build because it makes our skills clear a lot faster. For this build, it's not necessarily a boss killer in my mind. It's more of a, map clearing to get us some currency, which we've gathered some currency, but anyway, not a big deal. So Enigmatic Reach will increase our attack speed, cast speed, and AoE all in one. So this will help scale our DPS. After that, I probably will either take expertise or agility. It doesn't necessarily matter which one. Either one will work. That way I can upgrade our gloves to a unique, and then we'll probably go spell critical strike up into this intelligence node, grab enigmatic defense and this jewel socket. I do have I only have the one gem socketed, but I've got a Vivid Desire Crimson Jewel, which gives me increased totem damage, totem life, and lightning and cold res. So a lot of my resistance is coming from the passives in this tree. Refer to the Path of Building. You do need the Community Fork Edition to have it import over properly, but that will show you basically all the passives to take. As far as the jewels are concerned, the Path of Building just has some generic jewels that I've put inside of it. Basically, you're looking for stuff that scales totem damage, fire damage, or ignite damage is kind of what I'm thinking on the jewels. If they have resistance on it, that's worthwhile too, just because it removes the requirement to have resistance taking up a suffix or an affix on one of your items, right? So, okay. Enough talking. That's basically the build. Let's go ahead and fight this motherfucker. Maven's Crucible. I'm kind of stoked for this because I played the last league, but I didn't get super duper far. So I didn't. This is my first time fighting the Maven, actually. Oh man. Interact to begin the challenge. Here we fucking go. Get some, Maven. Oh shit. Oh yeah, alright. I think I remember this. You have to fight like a fuck ton of bosses first. Oh, this dude. Ooh. Shit. Alright, well, one death. Lol. That's a tough combo, honestly, because the one creates Consecrated Ground, which saps your mana. The other one just has that cannon. So I think we take down Cannon Boy right here first. Alright, new boss came in. It's the spider one. Alright, cool. We got those ones done. Take our loot first. Nothing too crazy yet. Maven's Gift. Yeah, I mean, is that the encounter, or do we actually get to fight the Maven? I don't actually know. I apologize if we're not actually fighting the Maven. I'll update the title if that's the case, but... Interact to allocate... Oh! Okay, so... It was our first encounter with the Maven. It wasn't actually the Maven boss fight, so I do apologize on that. I will update the title. In fact, let me do that now. First Maven encounter. Alright, so we get to allocate Atlas passives, is what we get to do. Of course, YouTube can't support like a normal fucking title. Okay, there we go. Whatever. Not a big deal. So as far as this goes, I'm not actually sure what to take. So Strongbox, Alva missions, Legion monsters, extra Legion chance. I do like the Legion missions. Scent of Blood. So monsters from the Beyond. So getting these ones. Beyond demons and areas grant 10% increased XP. Slaying enemies close together has 3% chance to attract more monsters. So I feel like that would increase the number of enemies on all maps. Basic currency item. So then you can scale that farther, I guess, that way. Increase XP. Okay, well, I guess strong boxes. So, I mean, the strong box one could be good too. I'm just looking at all this stuff to see what I might want to do next to kind of guide me on what to pick. Timeless Splinters, 3 Sergeants. So basically, either I go for the Beyond stuff or I go for strong boxes. I think I go for the Beyond. I like the Beyond stuff, if I'm honest. So, okay, cool. That's cool. So we allocated our Atlas passive points, apparently, for this region. So I guess when you fight the Maven in these ones, so yeah, look at this. Minimum number of boss encounters to get the Maven invitation, so you can like allocate this stuff. Okay, that makes sense. So we have to do another 3 to get another encounter with the Maven to fill this out farther. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so that's kind of like, this is their way of expanding the mapping system to go a little bit farther, as opposed to just like run a bunch of maps and gather currency. So there is like a progression through it now. I'm not super adept on it. I'm sure there's better videos kind of explaining how it all works. But anyway, so cool. We did our first Maven encounter on stream for you guys. We did just fine. I mean, we died once, but that's mainly because I fucked up and didn't time my dash right. So misclick, misplay, that kind of thing. Not a big deal though. I just wanted to take a look at that. So I do plan on filling out our Atlas a bit more. If we do take a look at our Atlas, as you can see, we have very few. We've only run like 2 maps down in Valdo's Rest. We've only run a few, like Lex Proxima has a ton more maps. Each of these little spots are maps. And all these gray ones are ones that we have not run. And that's the same in all the regions. So like there's a ton of maps we haven't ran yet. There's a ton, and we haven't ran them because we haven't dropped them yet. Now these tier 4 ones I think I do have. But like Lyra Arthan is another whole region of the Atlas that we haven't even like done anything in yet. We don't even have the Watchstone open yet, which is crazy to think about, because these are tier 4 maps, right? So I still have to run a ton of maps, and they're low-level stuff, so it's all pretty much the same content, just killing a bunch of enemies, clearing packs of monsters, and that kind of thing, in order to get all these circles filled in. But now at the same time, I guess what I can do is invite the Maven to come watch boss encounters, so I can extend my passive. So as you can see, this one we have to do 4 encounters now to get our next set of passives, whereas these are all only 3. So okay, that's not too big of a deal. Same thing with the bosses here. Like, to get Baron, I need to do another 2 more maps in this region with the Watchstone socketed, and that's Glennick So if I do 2 maps in this region with the Watchstones the way they are, I'll be able to fight Baron and get another Watchstone, which would be useful, because then it'll make it easier. I think Eric contains 30 additional packs of Crusaders. Oh, I think this scales the difficulty. So, like, as this gets farther, yeah, there's more of their monster types in the map. So, Veritania is up in Turn's End, so I can do either one of these regions and fight them. I believe all of the regions, like, there should be 2 more Crusaders is what they call themselves. So one's probably in Valdo's Rest and one's probably in Lex Proxima, because those are the 4 inner regions. But there should be like the green color and the yellow color stone. So like over here, Conquerors can't spawn because I don't. Yeah, that's fine. Not a big deal. But anyway, so I'll continue filling out the atlas. I will periodically stream and update you guys on the progress with the build. So like when it changes drastically, when we are fighting the bosses and stuff like that, I'll try to stream it. That way you guys can kind of take a look and see how I do it and kind of see what you're getting yourself into if you end up exploring the end game as far as I've gotten, which is not very far, to say the least. Most people, when you look at this stuff, like we have only white numbers. Most people have like hundreds of white numbers, and then they have yellow and red numbers as well. And that's based off of doing those activities on that tier of map. So if I actually, started clicking those and doing those when I was running maps, I would have more points. But that's okay. Stuff to work on type of a thing. But guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up here for today. If you enjoyed the stream, be sure to follow me on Twitch and subscribe to my YouTube channel to be notified when I go live in the future. In addition, drop a comment down below if there's any passives, builds, gear, anything like that that you think I should look into for Ultimatum League, and I'll be happy to kind of follow up with you on it and take a look. With that being said, guys, I've enjoyed streaming today, and until next time, this has been